Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com.
Oh, lockdown. Here we are again, Steve. Well, at least I am, I guess, in Victoria. You can watch from afar, can't you?
Definitely, I'm watching the lockdown like the rest of Australia and of Victoria. And the good news is that it seems to be largely contained to a single cluster. It could be some, one or two additional community transmissions out there, but thankfully so far it's low, and there have been a high number of tests, so that's got to be a good thing.
Absolutely. We'll have a bit more of a broader discussion about that in a moment, but just wanted to touch quickly on the new 24-inch iMac that we were just discussing before we got on, and I guess the performance part of it is really just par for the course. If you've been following any of the M1 stuff, you know what to expect in terms of the overall performance. I'm a little just aesthetically on the design. I'm not. I actually like it, but I don't know if it's funny. I don't know if I'd go one of the colors, to be honest, because I don't know if any shade of the colors really grabs my attention. But at least they, provided the offer of that, to make it fun and whatnot. I don't know if have you got a color that you'd pick.
I've gone in and I've seen them on display, and the thing that strikes me is the colours on the back of the machine. I know it's on the bezel and on the stand, but it's on the back of the machine. Maybe in an office environment that looks great, but if, like most people, you put your iMac up against a wall, it doesn't matter. I don't know.
Exactly. The interesting thing is that there's been a lot of benchmarking, a lot of YouTubers online running it through its tests and everything, and how basically it's effectively matching the performance of even like the high-end iMac Pros of just a few years ago. Machines that cost, north of 10 grand and whatnot, and you can get this, for basically $2 here. And it just highlights again that, the M1 is really an incredible chip. The designs are really good, and you really have to argue against buying any sort of Intel-based Mac at this point because, the M1s are just running circles around them.
Yeah, well, we've probably said this a couple of times already, but this is Mac back to the original ethos of Mac. If you're running Big Sur on there, and you've got Final Cut Pro and whatever other Apple native apps running, I can't imagine that you need anything else. It's the video that watch that you sent through this morning, Ben. I mean, it's an amazing comparison.
Yeah.
And, probably the only thing that gets the iMac Pro through by the skin of its teeth with its very obviously aging design is just the sheer amount of RAM that it's got.
Absolutely.
And 18 cores. So
that always helps. Yeah. The only other thing I wanted to mention with the M1, just in terms of the personal setup here for recording the podcast too, is just the dramatic difference. I guess over the course of time, over the years that we've been doing it, I've been slowly, sort of changing what hardware is used, how it's set up, etc. The biggest change that I've noticed is the fact that I literally don't have anything plugged into a port now for power or anything. I find that absolutely unbelievable. So the phone's not plugged in that's recording me. The Mac that's recording all of this is not plugged in. The only thing that I've got literally plugged in is a speaker just to boost your audio a little bit, and if I can figure out a way to get the Bluetooth working so it doesn't frizz on on the recording, I'd probably get rid of that cable as well. And that is really.
Well, I guess. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Yeah, and I was just saying that just really highlights just the change in it. It's just simplified, and also I haven't plugged. I know I'm not doing the professional thing here by not having a external microphone plugged in anymore, but the studio mics on the M1 MacBook just do the job. So what more do you need?
All I was going to say, Ben, was I guess that's highlights why on the base model there's only 2 ports.
Exactly. Because you just don't
need them anymore.
Exactly.
Ports are going the same way as the floppy.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go back to our original topic that we sort of touched on when we started, which was the new lockdown in Melbourne. So this is lockdown 4.0 for us, the fourth time we've been in lockdown. We're recording this on day 3 of this hopefully only 7-day lockdown. Obviously, the authorities have been circumspect when it comes to any discussion around whether it's going to end on time or whether it's going to continue or whatnot. I guess that'll depend on what cases come up each day and what they think will change, during the course of the week. Obviously I don't mind being indoors and being introverted and staying at home, but at the end of the day, it does become a bit tiresome to have to continually be in this position. One good thing that's come out of it is just it seems to have shaken a whole lot of Victorians out of any sort of vaccine complacency, I guess, from taking the shot. So I went down and got a shot myself yesterday, a Pfizer shot, now that they opened it up to under 50s, and that was a really good experience. Like despite what was said on news reports, I got in there and got out relatively well, and it was just good to see so many people that were there all lining up to get it. And I think that's maybe the thing to look for going forward across Australia, really, is just that the more people that get vaccinated, hopefully the less chance that we have to go into these lockdowns and follow and keep continuing on this particular sort of trajectory that we've been on in the past year.
Yeah, well, look, that is the good news out of this lockdown, is hopefully it provides the impetus for people to go and get vaccinated. And lifting the tier structure, which, I don't know, dates back to 2020 when they dreamt it up, is probably a good thing as well. And, maybe I'm a little bit more adventurous than the government, but I'd almost, rather than waiting for an election before I open the borders, I'd almost be game enough to say, for the benefit of the country, we're going to open the borders at the end of the year. So you've got, just over 6 months now to get vaccinated and throw it open for all.
Absolutely. It's interesting to see where this will go, just in terms of the overall sort of thing. I feel like there's a kind of a sense that, like you're saying, there was a playbook that was put in place at the beginning of the year about how the vaccine rollout would work, and it just seems like now that it's all getting thrown out the window, literally, because of this lockdown, and it shows that it can be done. Is there a component of this that that we're so stuck on administration and doing things by whatever the book has decided, or whatever the book we created to sort of put this whole thing in place, that it should be done, or that perhaps we should be thinking more broadly about being a lot more flexible in terms of the response and the reaction?
Well, the irony is that both ourselves and probably New Zealand did the best of stopping a pandemic in our countries, and probably you could argue that many other places in the world probably didn't do very well at all, but their vaccine programs have been incredible in terms of the way they've just max vaccinated, and that's been out of necessity. So they haven't had a choice, and they've just got ahead and done it. And I think perhaps you're right. Perhaps we've thought, we can afford to be orderly about it. We can afford to, do this by the book. But the reality is now that people aren't showing up for whatever reason. Okay. And, the idea that because 90% of Australia vaccinates normally just doesn't come across to this sort of, I guess, this situation. It's not going to translate. So I think really, considering Australia now is quite behind on its vaccination program, don't be embarrassed. Throw it open. Throw it open. Maybe you'll have 2 weeks of people being frustrated by all trying to get done at once. But after that, it would thin out, and you'd probably find it would turn out to be orderly, and everyone who wants to be vaccinated will be quite quickly.
Absolutely. And that's the experience that I had, which was, the instructions initially was you got to call a 1-800 number to book to get in. But then when that whole system crashed, and that was well publicized on the news, etc., that people weren't getting through or whatever, you then just show up. And even if they didn't have your booking in the system, like I called, I got a booking, and then I showed up and there was no booking in the system. They just said, fine, don't worry, I'll book you in now. Go around the corner and you'll get your shot. shot, which that I was really impressed by that. Like, there was a second there where he was saying that you know, oh, your booking's not in the system, and I thought, oh, is he gonna like say, nah, sorry, you'll have to go back to the queue? But no, it was like, nah, just come in, just get it done, and that's really what you want.
Oh, exactly. And so if you take out the latest Victorian lockdown, if you take that out of this actual situation, you know, where there's no threat of COVID, and then the only thing that is inconvenience is that you waited 3 hours, although we've had a lot of people not bothered by waiting 4 or 5 hours for a test. So, you know, I think people can understand if they rock up in the first 2 or 3 weeks and can't get in because of the numbers, that, you know, that's a fact, and that's not bad management. That's just too many people. Yeah. But, you know, as I say, after that it would even out, and I think you'd find that people would start to just drop in, get vaccinated, and you'd get through a lot more quickly. But I think that's now, you know, will have to be dealt with by the authorities as they think their way through the situation that we've currently got.
Yeah, absolutely. One last thing I wanted to touch on that's not related to this, but still related to the pandemic. Sorry, I didn't have it in the notes. I just thought of it then, which was the re-emergence of the whole lab theory thing that I've seen spreading around again. And now that you've got actual authorities like not throwing shade on that idea anymore. That Biden announced that he wanted his teams to get back to him within 90 days to you know, report on the origins and all that sort of thing. I just find that that whole thing interesting in terms of the dynamic, that there was like a complete shutout of any suggestion that it was anything other than you know, transmitted from a bat or some sort of animal, and now that's been reintroduced as, oh, well, maybe we better look at that just to, you know, just to be sure, to rule it out, kind of thing. I thought that was an interesting little change in the whole dynamic of the pursuit of what was going on with this.
Oh, look, absolutely. I mean, considering there was quite an emphatic sort of consensus that, you know, it was a naturally occurring sort of jump from animals to humans 12 months ago, and now to suggest it could have been manufactured in the lab is really interesting. I think the reality is that they're never really going to be able to be sure about this, and so, you know, I think, while the science behind it is important, I think the actual outcome, or trying to determine what the likelihood is now, I think the point's probably moot, to be quite honest.
Absolutely, absolutely. The moot point is, the not moot point is get everyone vaccinated and healthy so we can get past it, pretty much.
Well, that's right. You know, like, and get back to something like normal.
Absolutely. All right, Steve, we might wrap it up there. I was going to say, I guess I can go outside as long as I put my mask on and go. I can have up to 2 hours of walking every day if I want to. It's a shame because the sun's out this afternoon, and given that there's no one on the streets, it'd be relatively peaceful for a bit of exercise. So
get out there and enjoy it.
Yeah, I might have to get out there and do that just to get some sun, etc. So. Yeah, interesting, and I guess we'll know by this time next week, hopefully, what the results are of this whole lockdown.
Yeah, let's hope that everything goes well and Victoria's back up to normal soon.
Absolutely. All right, so don't forget our website, SciTechCulture.com. You can get all of our links and content there. You can subscribe to our YouTube and Vimeo channels, our RSS feeds, and watch us on any and all of your devices, and we're greatly appreciative of you visiting our website. All right, so that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.